Hello everyone, you are back live with the crew. Thanks for joining me again. Today, I got to follow up with that little story that I started in my last video that you guys have been waiting for. I met this man. He had run out of gas and in a very desolate area on the way to my house. Where I live is pretty remote. It's next to a national park. Turns out he's a Swiss man. And he came to see his niece and go hiking in the park. And, you know, we get a lot of European visitors this time of year. It's about 20 minutes opposite direction of where I was going to get this man some gas. Otherwise, it's about an hour each way. He was in the middle of nowhere, and I knew he had no cell service. And it was weird because I passed him. And then something about universe or some whatever was telling me, hey, you need to turn around and go ask that guy if he's okay, you know, because he's in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone service. Really well dressed and pretty well spoken. And I have to say this about people who don't speak English. Your English is way better than you think it is. And we can figure out the rest. He was really embarrassed, and it took me a long time to get him to open up. But his English is really good, and it was amazing because it took, 20 minutes into the 40 minutes we were in the car together, it took me 20 minutes to get out of him that he was a broker, which perked my ears up, and I'm like, wow, you know, my life is pretty amazing sometimes. I meet people in the middle of nowhere who have similar interests, and then he says, well, you know, I used to work for a bank, a big bank in Switzerland, and which I later found out was Credit Suisse. And he had just been laid off. As we know, UBS bought them. And the department in which he works in, he tells me, is an area that you probably might not know much about. It's not the way he put it, but he said it most people don't know anything about, as I believe the way he put it. And it's called cryptocurrencies. And I started laughing, and I was like, wow, universe, you've done it to me again. I pick a guy up in the middle of nowhere who needs my help, and I passed him, and I turned around and came back to pick him up, and he's into crypto. Yeah, it just keeps getting better, doesn't it? So he says to me, oh yeah, you probably don't know much about it. And when I was done laughing, he thought that was weird that I was laughing about crypto. And I could tell he was sort of offended or whatever. And he started to, you know, talk about its merits and whatnot. And I'm laughing going, well, no, I know quite a bit about it, you know. And I rattled off like 10 different coins, you know. And he's looking at me in amazement. And I said, so what do you know about ISO 222? And he was just shocked. Like, this look on his face was like, oh my God. And I said, well, you know, are you okay? What's going on? And he looks at me and he goes, I didn't understand. Americans are so much more advanced than the people in Switzerland about these coins. You Americans are so on top of this. And I laughed. I was like, no, not Americans. Me. You know, this is my forte. This is my passion. This is what I do. I'm a boat captain. I have a small property and a small farm, and I'm a dad and other things. But my passion is crypto. My passion is global economics. I'm a macroeconomics guy who's been in trading and, you know, you guys all know my background. So I was explaining that to him, and he's like, oh, wow, I thought, well, maybe all Americans were like you. And I said, no, it's not like that at all. I wish. We'll get there one day. So I really wanted to pick his brain and figure out where that country was at as opposed to where our country is. But what I asked him was, we started talking about ISO, and he told me that it's not been implemented indirectly in different levels. But he said the biggest reason why he lost his job at Credit Suisse is because UBS, the bank who bought them, was actually a bank that had way more employees that were and more knowledgeable, maybe he, in his words, more knowledgeable about crypto and had a larger crypto department. And he thought that was very bullish, as I do, about crypto, because this company that was coming in was taking over from one that wasn't very bullish about crypto at all. And then he told me of a bank in Switzerland, and you people over in Europe probably already know about this, called a Swiss Quote, I want to say, is what he called it. And you can walk right into that bank and buy all the crypto you want right over the counter. And I thought that was really cool. He told me about that. But he and I were talking for, about different coins, really, more than anything else. He knew all about XRP. He didn't know a lot about XLM, which I thought was kind of interesting, but he knew all about XRP. He didn't know much about XDC. He'd heard of it. He knew all about SDX, which we kind of already figured. He knew a lot about Bitcoin, obviously, Ethereum. He's a real big Ethereum guy, so they base a lot of their technology on Ethereum, and they're building on the Ethereum network, which, I don't necessarily have that in common with him, but I get it. They're kind of first to that market, and a lot of people are building ERC20 coin tokens off that network, and I get it, but I like Cardano better than Ethereum, and I think a lot of people on this show already know that about me. But he was talking, and a lot of the stuff he said I couldn't really put together because it was broken English. But the one thing he did say that I caught, and he said the words so perfectly, was BlackRock. So, that's Swiss as much as it is English. BlackRock is BlackRock, right? And when he said it, I was like, stop, what? What was that? BlackRock? He's like, oh yeah, BlackRock's a big player and this and that. And I said, well, okay, well, let's match wits on what you know about what's going on with BlackRock. And to be honest, he didn't know anything about it. He had only heard bits and pieces from their news feeds, and he had known that the companies in which he works with 3 different companies as an independent, if you will, salesperson. And what he does now, since he lost his job, is he's going independent. And I urged him to start a YouTube channel. And he's going to do, they don't have 401ks there like we do. They have similar, but theirs is linked to life insurance, 401k, and Social Security, all in one. And he said what they've done is they passed recent laws to where you can take your fund and your retirement, and a percentage of it you can put into cryptos. And that's what he's building as new. He was probably almost my age, I'd say mid-50s to 60 maybe. And he's in a position where he could retire, but he said, no, I want to keep working, and I'm so fascinated by the crypto industry, and I want to keep moving with it. So he and I started talking about BlackRock. What he does really feeds into where they're going. So that's why he was so excited about it, because he wants to ride on the coattails of the whole thing. Well, I learned, I said this in my Patreon show last week. I've learned a lot about what the big picture of BlackRock is, and maybe I can explain it to you guys real quick. It won't be in the title, so this is a bonus, if you will. I'm not going to put it in the title because I seem to be getting shadow banned. If you guys even know what that is, I really didn't necessarily know until recently. There goes the trash truck. What that meant. And I kind of knew what it meant, but when I put BlackRock in the title, I got crushed. Anyway, on viewership, I'm sure a lot of people saw it, but I didn't get any numbers for it. Spit it out, Alan. Where I'm going with this is where they're headed is, as the news came out today, they're advising 1.5% of their BlackRock portfolio go into Bitcoin. And 0.5% go into cryptocurrencies. I would go the other way around. I'd go 1.5 into all the cryptocurrencies, in particular XRP, and 0.5 go into Bitcoin. That's just me. That's my show. I'm not an economic advisor. You all know the story. What they're going to do, this is my opinion. This is what I put together. This is a macro opinion. I haven't heard anybody else talking about it. That's why I put on my Patreon first last week. This is what I have going on in my head. BlackRock is in serious trouble. If you've been following them for as long as I have, and I've posted this in comments before, BlackRock is going bankrupt. They're in hot water. They don't have any money. We say, oh yeah, they have 10 trillion in assets. No, they don't. They have 10 trillion of other people's money in which they have spent poorly, I will say. Their investments over the last decade have not gone well. Good here, good there, but if it wasn't for the 2020 bailout that everybody received on a corporate level, more than the citizens got our money, they would be belly up already. So they're already in the pocket. We already know, I did a video a while back, you should look it up, about how corrupt they are and who started the whole thing and whatnot. My opinion that they're corrupt. Their founder is connected to CIA and other organizations and institutions. You can look it up. It's public record at this point, so that's no news flash. All right, stay on subject here, Alan. Where they're going is they're piling on all this commercial-backed real estate, okay? And they're loading them up, and they're piling it on BlackRock. And there's a bunch of it out there. And there are 80% of these retirement funds in which they manage are in these mortgage-backed securities, which are commercial paper. And these commercial properties are not good. They have to be refinanced essentially every 2 to 5 years. Well, the problem is by the time our interest rates get back down to where BlackRock's going to be able to refinance them all, it's going to be 6-7% interest rate because, as you know, they're continually raising these interest rates. Powell is not giving these guys any break. Why? Because, in my opinion, again, they're trying to crush Europe. Europe's been living on the euro dollar, okay, for a very long time. And if you don't know what that means, that is not the euro currency. That's actually the euro creates monetary money from the backed by the US dollar in a fictitious way that creates more dollars globally on the face of the planet. And that was not what the US dollar was intended to be. So the Federal Reserve is now taking that power back from the European Parliament, and people, ECB, and the rest of them have abused their privilege of that. And what is going on with BlackRock is they're stuck in the middle of this with this real estate problems. And if you've heard recently, they just had a bunch of silver shorts that they've contracted. Now they own silver shorts on top of the entire thing in a pile of them. So when you listen to all of this and then you listen to them going for a spot market ETF Bitcoin, and you say, well, they've got to come up with some percentage of profit income somewhere for all these funds in which they manage all over the world, as we know. I want to say like 70% of the Japanese pensions are all funded by BlackRock. I mean, it's insane. And they've written all this bad paper, and it's not a good situation. So they need return. Where are they going to get the return? They're going to get return from all of these pensions are going to pile with at least 1.5% into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, that 0.5 I just talked about. This is going to explode this market. It is their bailout. Is it going to happen this week? No. This is, again, I'm going back to my opinion where I'm going with this thing. I think what's going to happen first is we're going to have some kind of a crash or some kind of a more banks falling. I know you've heard about the California bank yesterday who went under. B of A is in big trouble. US Bank is in trouble still. There's 2 or 3 others that I can't think of right now, and they're all leaking oil big. Well, there's going to be some sort of like push there. And there's going to be some reason for them to turn the FDIC on again and bail these banks out. Again, it's consolidation of the bigger banks, okay? From, obtaining the smaller and medium-sized banks. But what they're going to do is they're going to say, oh, because of all these people and these millions of people who have these pension funds, we cannot let BlackRock go under. So now BlackRock's going to obtain all of these commercial real estate buildings. They're going to obtain this ETF with Bitcoin. They're going to obtain all of this silver contracts. And they're going to say they're just too big and too important to you and I and all these pension funds all around America that we have to bail these people out. So they're going to get a blank check and they're going to write it to these people. It's not going to be the only company that gets one, but it's going to be the big one that gets one. And that's going to rocket ship their assets into cryptocurrencies, and it's going to explode. Is that going to happen in the next month? No. Is that going to happen when their time frame? Yes. I'm thinking somewhere around the first of the year, because I do believe that we are going to see a contraction or deflationary fall. Okay, it's already happening. I mean fall as in weather, time of year. In the fall, we're going to see this continuation of real estate declining and car prices declining. In other words, like I've been saying, the things that you really need, such as food and clothing and those kind of things, those prices are going to continue to go up. The things that are going to go decline, okay, or deflate are going to be those big ticket items, right? And that's going to hurt the corporations, because the corporations can't sell cars, they can't sell houses. BlackRock can't get out from underneath the commercial property. And this is going to create their collapse, not our collapse. I don't think, this again my opinion, we're going to see a stock market crash. I don't think we're going to see a crypto crash. We may see a decline. We could see that. But I don't think they're going to let the stock market crash right before an election. My guess. Okay, but the deflation's going to hit certain things, and you're going to be able to call it a recession or a depression, because those things will be depressed in prices, and people won't be able to afford the loan or the percentage rates that it's going to cost for them to finance these big ticket items. So therefore, these big ticket items are going to crash, and they're going to be an opportunity for you and I to buy real estate, to buy the vehicles that you've wanted, to buy, a tractor that you need for your farm, any big ticket items such as a solar system, well projects, or whatever you need on your property, or a new truck, or your situation, whatever your situation is. Luxury items, all of those are going to decline in value, or in price, not in value. And it won't be long, and they will turn the printer back on right before the election. I think the first of the year is going to be huge. I really see a big bull market for crypto, precious metals, and not property, because it always lags. And anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's what I think is going to happen to BlackRock. Do I think that they're going to get their ETF, spot ETF? Yes, I do. So I hope you guys got something from that. I hope I could outshout the rooster right over here to my left. Sorry about that. I don't have a remote for him. I kind of wish I did, but some of you seem to really enjoy it. So, all right, guys, with that, I'm out. Till we talk later, I'm out. Okay. So I'm driving up the hill, and I'm got this Swiss banker in my car. Yeah, that happens to everybody. I mean, I haven't seen anybody on this deserted highway, not even a single car. And a man comes from all the way the other side of the planet to talk with me in my truck for 40 minutes. That happens to everybody, right? I mean, that's just it's typical, normal. And he's into crypto. Well, of course. Of course. No, universe? No, it didn't have anything to do with that. You know, I wouldn't believe it, but I'm looking right at it. You know when you're looking right at it, you can't argue with it. It's right there. I gotta believe it. Thank you, universe. Love you all.